It's 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. You know what that means on SABC One. It means Hollywoodbets brings you GameON. So a very good day this to Mzansi, and so much to talk about in the world of football. A special interview for you we have in the last segment of the show. Then we got Jerry Skosana, of course, to talk about the local game. But we start things off looking at what's happening out in England with Shane McGregor. Shane, good day to you. We've discussed this on numerous occasions now over the last few weeks. Manchester United, Ten Hag, the relationship, the 10 years come to an end. They've parted ways. It's interesting when you look at the numbers, though. In his time at Manchester United, 600 million spent, currently 14th on the log, and things haven't gone according to plan. They finished 8th on the log last season, and he walks away with a payoff of, 13, 14 million or so?
Something like that. Nothing wrong as a manager.
No, nothing wrong at all.
This was new. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time when it was going to happen. 600. What did he spend it on?
Players?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, what did he spend it on? So that's my problem. The players they brought in, we were just talking off air. I mean, when you bring in a player like De Ligt in and Casemiro past his best, players like that, you're going to be looking for trouble. But at the end of the day, the board decided enough is enough. Let's move on and let's find a new manager, new coach. Even
for the new manager coming in, you have to look at the situation for what it is. Here's a club that's, I think, scored goals where only two sides have scored less. But we're talking Manchester United.
And conceded how many?
Yeah.
You see, that's the biggest problem at the moment. Is number one, they're not scoring the goals. It seems to have dried up. And number two, conceding so many goals. And that's the big problem. But when you look at their defence, to be fair, it's not the best defence around. So that's the big problem. For me, as a new manager coming in there, coach, I'll be taking over, sorting that out first. Defence, and then work from there.
Ruud van Nistelrooy, interim coach, the new coach, of course, to be announced soon. But let's talk about it. Do you see Manchester United turning the tide this season? Or are we looking at another 2 or so seasons? Do we extend the period even longer for it to come right there?
I think you're going to have to extend it.
Yeah.
Up until such time as you can bring in the players that you need, which now I don't think you're going to be able to do, having spent that amount of money. I can't see anything changing. You can bring in whichever manager you want. If you don't have the players, it's not going to work. So it's another season where you're going to be just going through the motions again, building for next season. So it's next season.
Painful news for Manchester United. Let's talk about the blue side of Manchester. Important scenario they found themselves in on a Saturday up against Southampton. Needed the win.
Yeah.
Also a clean sheet helped. They won 1-0, especially in light of what happened on Sunday with Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah, 1-0. That doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you get the result. They struggled against Southampton. Southampton did very well, and Pep came out and said their manager was very sharp in what he did, the way he played. He wasn't going to say hi and whatever, because obviously it would give other teams the heads up. But yeah, they struggled through 1-0. Good result for them. They got beaten midweek in the cup, which is nothing. I mean, for them, it was a matter of just playing the second team. But yeah, big result there, 3-0, especially after the 2-2 draw with Liverpool and Arsenal. I just felt in that game that both teams were scared to go on and win it. Both teams should have gone for the jugular. I think they were quite happy with the draw.
Palmer Jackson scoring goals for Chelsea. They walk away 2-1 winners of Newcastle United. We predicted at the start of the season they're looking like a team that will be thereabouts in the top 4 battle. They're maintaining that momentum.
Just the consistency, that's going to be the big thing. They've got to keep the consistency going. They are playing well. They've got a bunch of youngsters, which doesn't help with consistency. Newcastle, Eddie Houses now must be looking over his shoulder because,
he could be next.
Expectations are great. He could be next, but I'll be very worried if I was him.
Man City, their way to Bournemouth this weekend. Your thoughts on that game? But before that, Newcastle struggling, and we talked about now their struggles just recently. They're facing Arsenal at home.
It's a difficult game. It's a very difficult game, that one. If you look at it, both teams need to win. Both teams need to get the result. Very, very hard. But I think Arsenal, I just feel that they've been going well. I think they're going to have too much for Newcastle and get the victory there.
Now that they're top of the log, City will want to push on and keep the pressure on the others up against Bournemouth.
They'll struggle. It's not going to be a very easy game. It's not going to be a 6-7-0 game. But I think at the end of the day, the class will tell and they'll get the result.
Liverpool-Brighton.
Liverpool at home. I know Brighton have been playing well.
Yeah.
They played midweek as well in the Cup. But for me, Liverpool at home.
Sunday, there's a couple of interesting games. Firstly, Spurs up against Aston Villa. Villa's doing well so far this season. Spurs, well, it's Spurs.
Well, you know me. What
Yeah.
am I going to be going with? The inconsistent Spurs I can't have. I'm going to go with Villa. I think they haven't got a midweek game, so they're going to be ready for this one. I think they're going to be too strong for Spurs.
And for Manchester United, are they ready for a side like Chelsea, even though they are at home, Manchester? And with the changes that have happened, Chelsea on somewhat of a good run this season?
Initially, when I looked at this game, I was leaning towards Chelsea. But having looked at it, and restudied it, I think a draw's on the cards in this game. The players will want to prove a point for Man United. They're going to come up against a Chelsea side who, as I say, the consistency needs to be there. So for me, the draw in this one. And I'm going to be taking the bet on the draw in that one.
Now, it's interesting when you look at the scenario out in England. I mean, you've got City on 23 points, you've got Liverpool on 22. Then there's, the chasing pack, which includes Liverpool. But Arsenal, 18 points, Villa, 18. Yeah. Do you see those sides maybe staying up with the likes of City to make it interesting going into the second half of the season?
Well,
December's coming soon.
Yeah, the top teams, we always say December's the most important time of the year. So you're looking at, I think you got to have a look at Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool. I'm still going to stick to my guns and say that Arsenal win the league this year. They've gone through all their hardships, and I know I'm a big Liverpool supporter. I think Arsenal will still win the league this year. I think Man City have shown signs that they can be beaten.
Again, in the numbers game, we'll have, in this case, City, 9 games played, they are averaging a goal a game, having conceded. Liverpool, best defence in the league, 5 goals only. They've conceded in 9. And Arsenal on 10 goals. Yeah. So the defensive acumen of Liverpool here, is that going to make a big difference in the end?
That can make a big difference. But, as I say to you, Arsenal have been finding a way to win games when they shouldn't be winning. Like last week, with so many players out injured. And then they still had 2 players injured in the back four. So they were playing with a complete new back four, and they still got a result against Liverpool. And that's why I'm looking at them. Unfortunately, all their players that are injured are defenders.
So keep in mind, on SABC 3 at 5 o'clock, we will be bringing you live Liverpool up against Brighton coming from Anfield. And, on the other side of this, we are talking the local game with Jerry Skosana, and we'll be looking to knock that chat out the park.
Game on. Here we go. Check these guys. Let's show them how to do that. I see it. Let's have a
your feet like this.
Let's see how you play.
Your feet like this.
Welcome back. It's time now to focus on the beautifully South African game with so much going on in the league battle. Jerry Skosana joins us. And Jerry, let's get straight into it. So, game, Saturday, of course, SuperSport United, bapinda futhi in the Kaizer Chiefs. This time, Kevin Ant, of course, came up with a plan. SuperSport United, 1-0.
Well, for me, Sizwe, it was a good understanding of what Kevin wants. And one thing that excited me was he came with a whole lot of youngsters again to show that whatever that happened in the Carling Cup when they lost to the same team, it was nothing different. It was only the motivation and telling the boys how to play the game. And they came with a different style altogether in terms of the approach of the game. You've seen almost senior players where on the outside and young players playing, look at the goalkeeper. So for me, it was just a good thing, which Gavin is showing in South African football, that we need to look at the youngsters because they can give you something that you want, because the youngsters always want to excel, and this is what they did against Kaizer Chiefs.
We have to talk about Stellenbosch because they went into the weekend's games. They were 3rd on the log standings. In KZN, once again, they've spent a lot of time at KZN so far this season. Badala and Richards Bay holds them to a 0-0 scoreline.
Well, I wouldn't know what happened there in that game, honestly speaking, but you'd expect Stellenbosch to be walking all over Richards Bay. But let's give credit to Richards Bay to getting that point out of Stellenbosch. But it's not easy to get points from the top 3 teams. But yeah, some of the things happen from the small clubs, especially if you underrate them. Yeah. You go to and play them knowing that, no, it's Richards Bay, anything can happen, we can get a result, and then boom, they get a point out of you. So yeah.
Talking about underestimating small clubs, Polokwane City Sunday hosting Mamelodi Sundowns. Yabakhupha nge-MTN 80 Polokwane City, but Sundowns won their own goal. They come back, Sundowns. They change big numbers in the starting 11. Polokwane City, well, they come up with an impressive 1-0 win. Sundowns don't have a shot on target all game long. Did they underestimate the smaller team, Sundowns?
No, I don't think so. I think they know what they've got against Polokwane City. I mean, it's been something that has been happening a long time. Sundowns never had a roller coaster over Polokwane City. All the results were close. You look at the MTN 8 result. I mean, Polokwane City scored an own goal to give to Sundowns. So now they said, no, we're not going to score for Sundowns. We want to score against Sundowns. And that's what they did. They beat Sundowns 1-0. So yeah, pick up to Polokwane City, because if they do that against the Sundowns team, you'd expect them to show some great moves in terms of moving forward in the league.
We know Polokwane City with that result made the happy people happy, because the Pirates were looking to maintain the 100% win record going into the midweek action. Tuesday, ETS Galaxy hosts the Orlando Pirates. Pirates again, 2-0 winners. The way they've responded, Gwilose Kaling knockout has been rather impressive. Different goal scorers, Abomahopa, Abomufukeng also scoring a nice goal. The young boy Unkota is coming to replace Usaleng. He's scoring as well. The Pirates got different players that can hurt you, including young guys that are doing well.
You know, I just spoke about what Kevin is doing at Supersport. So I think also Ribeiro is the same moment that he has taken to say, I want to introduce the youngsters. You're talking about Nkota and what he has done, especially if you look back and say they lost to Magesi in the Cullen Cup, and it was like the early 3 goals that they considered. When they started bringing the team that was solid, they only scored 2. Let's forget about the other offside goal that they scored, and it was disallowed. But yeah, for me, I think these are the signs. Guys like Munapule Saleng, they need to look at these youngsters and motivate them. They don't have to be maybe Peter, because that's where youngsters come in when fatigue creeps in terms of the old players. So yeah, for me to have the youngsters like Mufukeng, Nkota coming into the fold, I hope there would be others that are still coming from Ribeiro's side at Orlando Pirates.
Now, we have to talk about Magesi. They are making headlines over the last few weeks. Calling a Pirates, calling knockout. They tried again against the Chiefs. They were leading 2-0 in a game where Chiefs fought back towards the last, 20 minutes. They made it interesting, 2-2 the scoreline. Interesting game. But hey, for Chiefs, it's a bit of a worry now. The loss to Supersport, the draw to Magesi. We know what's coming up ahead, but Magesi.
Now, I just want to revert back to what we just spoke about now. Kevin Hunt, youngsters that are doing well for him at Supersport. Ribeiro, youngsters that are doing well for him at Orlando Pirates. All those youngsters are starting the game, you know, and at least they are taught what to do. Now, we're talking about Kaizer Chiefs. You look at them trailing 2-0 against Magesi. But who are the people that got the goals that got them back there? So it's something which, for me, it's a good thing as South African football to see all of these youngsters, especially those played in the DDC, coming like what Villarreal has done, Shabalala, in what game, in the game they played on Wednesday against Magesi. So for me, it's just a good thing that the Premier League is coming to wake us up to say, good quality youngsters are coming into the fold.
Sundowns, they go back to factory settings, so to speak, in bringing in some of the heavy hitters for the game against Cape Town City. What's important here in this 3-0 win for me, for Mamelodi Sundowns, who Peter Shalulile, we are now 2 goals, and he's back to scoring ways. Sundowns are looking like Sundowns, and an important time and a good response to the loss over the weekend.
I think for me, Sundowns, I don't know which Sundowns we're going to be talking about, because you want to go and see the consistency of Sundowns, the other Sundowns comes in. So if I have to be maybe open and frank, I would come and say there is a Sundowns that is led by Dennis Onyango in terms of goalkeeping. Somehow a little bit of struggles and stuff. That's the Sundowns that lost 1-0 to Polokwane City. And then there is a Sundowns that is led by Ronwen Williams. And that Sundowns will get you results. So I don't want to be in the Sundowns technical team, but Sundowns has got the quality on its own. So for them to beat Cape Town City 3-0, it was what happened to them previously when they lost 1-0 to Polokwane City. It wasn't something that they would take for granted. So yeah, the 3-0, sorry to Cape Town City, but Sundowns meant that they don't want to have a problem with their own followers. And they wanted to keep the tag of being the quality team in SA.
Well, Mamelodi Sundowns doing their bit to keep Orlando Pirates in their size. Things get interesting, of course, with Pirates maintaining their 100% win record. And, it will be interesting going forward to see what happens in the Aqualing knockout with some interesting fixtures that are lying in wait there as well. So that's, well, the local scene done and dusted for now. Special interview coming up on the other side of this. Welcome back to Game On as we continue to discuss the beautifully South African game, but we shift focus now and talk about the Aqualing knockout, talk about a special interview. Well, we do have Cheris Kosana back, but the special guest we have is Umtogozisi from Far Post. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. And let's talk about the games coming up in as far as the Aqualing knockout. Chiefs, the Mamelodi Sundowns, of course, the one everybody's talking about. Chiefs, well, they've struggled over the last two games, a loss and a draw where they've had to come from behind. Sundowns, well, they've also not had a 100% record in recent times. Yeah. How do you see this game? It's nicely poised for all the fans, of course, going to this game.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very interesting one. I mean, considering how they played in the league. I mean, that 2-1, I think we saw a nice, closely contested game, especially in the second half of that game. And since then, Kaizer Chiefs have struggled a bit. Being beaten by SuperSport, and also, playing a 2-2 draw against Makesi. So not looking very good for them in the league. But they would be hoping this could be a game where if they do win it, try and end that 9-year trophy drought. But Sundowns also, I think we saw them losing to Bulukwane City, and then coming back and beating Cape Town City 3-0. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it out.
Now, Jerry, from a goal-scoring point of view, up in Kaizer Chiefs, when you look at in the league already, Sundowns have scored more than 10 goals. Pirates, who Chiefs are comparing themselves to, have scored more than 10 goals. Chiefs haven't. They're still on single digits. Do they have a problem in the striking department? Yes, Shabalala scored a couple, but still, do they have a consistent goal scorer at Chiefs?
Well, I think that's the problem that they're facing now. They don't have like an out-and-out striker. You've got guys like Yabo, Dupree, you're looking at Chiva Vero. Those are the guys that you want to put everything into them to say these are the out-and-out strikers that you expect them to, to score goals. But you look at the Makesi game, two youngsters that are doing well for me, they are in the fold. So sometimes you don't have to put pressure on these youngsters. These are the old players that are senior players coming from experience, bringing experience to Kaizer Chiefs. But now everything is sitting on the youngsters, but good for the youngsters because they are showing their class as well. Filagazi, Shabalala scoring those 2 goals to equalize against Makesi on Wednesday. So for me, it's a good thing on those youngsters. But for Chiefs, they still have to go out there and look for somebody who can bang in goals for them.
About Nyabazokala depth, where Chiefs is concerned, are they looking to fix the problem?
Yeah, look, I think they obviously need players. I mean, the coach has made it clear that the material that he has not good enough to play the way that he wants to play, particularly in the strike force, where they've got Ranga Chivaviro. It's been very inconsistent. They are obviously looking at bringing in a striker. They're looking at a striker from overseas to come in and maybe get them goals. But also they're also trying to fix the wings. I mean, if you look at Nabi's game, go back to his time at Young Africans, played a lot with traditional wingers, the likes of Twisila Kisinda, Jesus Moloko, the Congolese winger. And so they're looking at someone like Elias Mokwana, who could possibly come in on loan because he's not getting game time in Tunisia. His coach that signed him, Miguel Cardoso, has actually left the club, and there's talk that Joseph Zimbabwe could be the man coming in. So his future a bit uncertain there. So he's a player that they could, I mean, we know they wanted to sign him before he left for Tunisia. So maybe then if he comes in, he could get those goals for them and also create for their 9.
Talking goals, Sundowns have a number of goal scorers. Reyners has been great all season with other players contributing, Jerry. But Shalile is back, got a 2, and that's great for him in hitting the ground running from this point on, they hope. But he adds to the firepower for Sundowns.
That's the mentality of a striker. If you know you've got everybody looking upon you and you're not delivering, and this is what the turnaround that Shalulile has done on Wednesday. I mean, scoring those 2 goals, being there, at least it says a lot. But if I have to come back to what Mto is talking about now in terms of Chiefs bringing a Swedish, if maybe, according to me, seated and watching our football here in South Africa, I would be looking at the boy from Magesi, Makubu. I would be looking at Makubu, honestly speaking, because if you get a player like that one, and then you bring to Chiefs, I was looking at his energy against Orlando Pirates, not scoring a goal, but creating havoc to the defenders and also having his own teammates getting the advantage of that. And you look at him against Kaizer Chiefs on Wednesday, the first goal he scored, to me, that's a prolific striker. And I wish for a boy that he can get something good for him, because what I've seen in the past 2 games with the 2 big clubs, for me, he's a top striker.
We have to talk about Richards Bay and Cape Town City. 2 sides that haven't been all too consistent this season, but they need this cup competition, of course, just to get their season going right and to give them some confidence going forward.
Yeah, look, I mean, Cape Town City, I mean, when you look at the way they signed, I thought they would do very well this season. But, I mean, Eric Tinkler feels his players got a lot of new players that still need to gel and, get the team as a unit. But the results have not been good in the league. We saw them losing to Stellenbosch 3-0. We saw them losing to Sundowns 3-0. Not very good. Also, but they do play a Richards Bay side that has also not done very well. I think one win
in the league,
and they've lost twice as well. But I do feel Cape Town City have the quality. They've got good players, really. So be interesting to see if they can actually make use of the players, the good players that they have. Bit worried about their defense. Been conceding quite a lot. I mean, if in 2 games they conceded 6 goals, it's obviously a huge concern.
Jerry, we have to talk about the defending champions. Stellenbosch, and Marumo Gallants. Marumo Gallants, 1 win in the cup, 1 in the league. Now, they're stumbling at the start of this season. Stellenbosch, are you expecting them to reign supreme here and move on?
Yeah, I really do, but I don't know if it's going to be like that. But the area that Marumo Gallants chose to play Dr. Petrus Mulumela Stadium, it's going to be an advantage to them, honestly speaking, because you look at Stellenbosch, they're a team that goes into cities and towns. Now they are going right in the middle of the township in Bloemfontein. So, maybe Marumo Gallants can get that one out. But, I can still go with Stellenbosch.
I must ask you guys about the team that's making a name for itself over the last month, Makesi. They're still in the competition, but then in the TS Galaxy, another that the Makesi could look at and think, we threw with Kaizer Chiefs, Sishaye, Pirates. Their confidence could be up for Galaxy.
Absolutely. I mean, I spoke to Clinton Lassen before the Kaizer Chiefs game, and he said, look, when we play these teams, we have to work 10 times harder than they do. We saw them do it against Pirates. We saw them do it against Kaizer Chiefs, almost stealing a win. But they do play a team that reached the final of this same competition last season, TS Galaxy, who also want to, pick themselves up and, get themselves, going in this competition. So it's going to be a very, very tricky one. Looking out for, Puso Titejane, the former Kaizer Chiefs academy player. I think he's been doing well since, making that switch. But you've got Wanda Makubu as well on the other side. Makesi, I think he's actually did very well last season, I think, scoring about 10 goals. So it will be a very interesting one.
Interesting times in the way of South African football, of course. And we'd firstly like to take the time to thank Mto, as well as Jerry, not forgetting Shane McGregor, and take the time to thank you at home for joining us here on GameON. From myself, Susan Mapena, and the rest of the team that is behind the scenes, it's click, click, bang.